I've spent a lot of time down here, years, in this parking lot. It was kind of interesting being down here. I think I was probably 5 years in, and this mural just shows up out of nowhere, out of the blue, right across from where I stage, right across Slauson, right here at the 110. And it wasn't just any like graffiti, because there's graffiti all over the city, you know. And I remember coming down one day, getting off the freeway, and looking across the off-ramp and seeing this kid playing with a G-scale train. And I'm just like, like it just struck me because it's, since I was little, trains, you know, I've always been into trains. It's something that's kind of been with me forever. And it was just bizarre to see this mural of a kid about the age I was when I got my first trains right across the street from where I've been for so many years. I don't know, it was just weird, man. Like growing up in elementary school, my dad, pretty awesome guy. He ends up buying me these trains in Griffith Park. They're like 1-inch scale model trains. And they're big enough to ride on, especially as a kid. Like adults ride on them, so you know, I was more than more than the right size to ride on these things. And it was just weird to see that there, because when I was that age and I had those trains, I used to go to elementary school and tell my classmates that I have these trains in Griffith Park that you can like ride on, you know? And they didn't believe me. Like it was too extraordinary, it was too incredible. And I think that's kind of a theme that's resonated throughout my life for a lot of years. Where I'm doing something, or I'm covering a story, or I'm at something where people like, they hear the stories, and I mean now without the video footage or any of the proof of the things that I've done, I almost wouldn't believe it at this point. So it's kind of interesting that that showed up here, a place that I've spent so much time at.
You know, and this is where we did our first interview.
Is it? Was it on this side or the other side?
It's on this side.
Was it on this side? Nice. Wow. That was, and how many years ago?
It's 5 years ago.
So 5 years ago, we started this journey. It's a lot to think back on. A lot of incredible things, a lot of things, like I said, you just wouldn't believe unless you had the video. Good thing we have the video. Otherwise, yeah, nobody would believe it. But yeah, there's things that I did right, and things that if I was given another chance, I would do very differently. Come on.
Want to do a cap report?
We're en route to
Task Force Squad 21 on scene here, 1690, 48th place. Looks like we've got a pallet yard.
Pallet yard going. Yeah, this is a huge fire. This is gonna be the biggest fire you've ever seen.
This is Tony. This is just 48th place of Mom Task Force 21 on scene towards a pallet yard.
This is gonna be the biggest fire you've ever seen. It's gonna burn quick, it's gonna burn hot, and it's gonna burn out. So we need to get down there real quick. I've never actually been to a pallet yard fire, so this is pretty good. I had a little one by my place, but this is, we could see the loom up from the freeway. 300, 455, David, I got a massive pallet yard fire. Get me a write-up started, please. Alright, so we're gonna get down here, and Alex, this is for you. I need you to be really kind of safe on this. You don't have any fire equipment. It's gonna burn really hot. Stay kind of across the street if you can. I'm gonna dive like into it to get with the firefighters. You can stay with me, just try not to draw too much attention to me if you get kicked out, okay? When we turn this corner, you're gonna see quite the movement.
Light Force 33. Yeah, hey John, you have a commitment
Jerry, I gotta call you back. We're gonna go
out there for me. If I have any explosive problem.
And our trick here is to not get stuck and not hit a fire truck. There we go.
45. Look here, Arvin Cannon. Give me a call back.
Ready?
Don't get burned. I'm serious.
Water back here.
Way too hot. Woo! We're all gonna have sunburns, mate, soon. All right, we're just gonna fit it.
The
ball?
No.
You didn't get me falling right now?
No, I didn't get you falling.
From what it sounds like, only the windows have been taken out. I'll have to visually confirm with you when I get there. Please take us on scene.
So how I got into this, I fell into it. I completely fell into it. It's not the kind of thing you wake up and you're in school and you're like, I want to be a freelance photojournalist. I want to be a stringer. That doesn't happen, I don't think. I don't think people even know this exists. And they're kind of not supposed to know. I mean, you watch the news and you don't think anything different when you see our footage. You don't even notice. And if you did notice, we'd be doing a bad job. So there's something to be said for that too. It's not the kind of thing you just do. There's a lot of people that want to do this job. There's a lot of people that think they can, and I give everyone a fair shake. Anyone that comes to us and says, hey, I'd like to apply with you guys and work with you guys and see if I can do this because it's interesting. I sit down, I'll interview them, I'll see if they can do it. Usually within the first 15 minutes of meeting someone, I can tell if they are able to do this or not. And 95% of the time that answer is no. And it has nothing to do with education, it has nothing to do with experience, it has nothing to do with who they are on an individual level. What it comes down to is whether they can deal with the stresses. There's some people that can operate under pressure, and there's people who do better under pressure, and then there's people who fail. And this job, you have to operate under pressure constantly. The second you sit down in the driver's seat and you are doing this to the level that is required of a company like ours, there's so many different layers to it. There's listening and knowing what is news. What is news? What makes a news story? Who determines that? And then you look at, can they navigate? Can the person get around the city? Can they operate incredibly advanced video equipment? Do they know how to operate it properly? How to make it their own? How to bring something unique to the table? Do they know how to deal with problems? And do they think outside the box? And do all that while you've got a deadline that's 30 seconds, before you even thought about going to the story. Personally, I love it. There's nothing else I could do. I couldn't go to a normal job from this now. After my experience and after everything that I've seen and everything that I've done, I couldn't go to a normal job. And it terrifies me a little bit. Because like I said, we're all ruined.
This is pretty much my 19th year of shooting breaking news. I love it. I have a passion for it. I'm out every 5 nights a week chasing the chaos when people are sleeping. Every night is different. It's great. It's not like a 9-to-5 job that you're sitting behind a desk. It never gets boring. Being out every night with the different agencies that I work with, you build a relationship for so many years, covering Orange County and LA. I've been with On Scene Video. It's pretty much the only company that I've ever been with. Rob, who started On Scene Video, I started with him back in 96, 97. And he sold the company just this past year. We are #1 in Southern California. There are other companies out there, but we strive every night when we're out to get the best video possible and to make sure that the news channels have great quality video. And our images show that. Proof is in the pudding after the company being around for almost 20 years, and it's great. I'm blessed to be a part of it. I'm headed to a gunshot wound in one of the neighborhoods in Anaheim right now. Reported 1 person down. Don't know the circumstances on it, so we'll see what happens when we get there and go from there. See if we have a story or if it's life-threatening injuries or minor injuries. I don't know, but we'll see.
Transporting to Torrance Memorial. Caller, back online. We got your computer from here, and we'll be trying to get going out.
Fuck out of the way, dude. Get out. there. Hey, Joe, baby.
But probably, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, I started riding along with him. I said, you know, I kind of want to get into this industry a little bit more. So he kind of took me on as, you know, my mentor. We used to ride along every night in his car, cruise around for a couple years. We're kind of in our own vehicles now, but become really good friends. We have a great time out here. You know, we share information back and forth. He hears something, I hear something. So we kind of watch each other's back and look out for each other while we're out here. Pretty much when we're out here at night, the stuff we're seeing is tragedy, you know. Very rarely is it a happy-go-lucky story. You know, you're seeing dead bodies of all ages, tragic accidents, you know, people losing their houses, all sorts. And you know, if you didn't like kind of take it lighthearted and joke about other things, it really would probably mess with your head quite a bit.
But me and Kevin get along with pretty much everybody we come in contact with because we cover so much in Orange County, and we have to build that relationship, that rapport. It's all about communicating. Be cool to everybody out here, and it'll help you. Because we've been on scenes where, like for instance, last night we were on the fatality. We were cool with that sergeant, and he let us get up to the scene real well, get some good shots. You know, our glass only goes so far, and if we can make a friend out there, or we know somebody that's on scene, it helps us dramatically.
Yeah,
big time.
You know, we show up on the scene. We know a lot of the guys by name. Say hi, what's up? You know, it's kind of nice, you know, because they know who we are. They know we're not, you know, messing around with anything or doing anything stupid. We're here to do our job. So
it's majority of the time, it's always, of course, on a professional level. You know, we know to stay out of their way, and they have a job to do. And like I made a point before, this is their scene. We're a guest here, and but we're a news gathering agency too. You know, we have media rights, and we want to get the shots. And we want to get the best video and the best still photography possible for the news.
You know, this job is really, really, really difficult because, you know, number one, you got to have good ears. You got to be able to listen. You got to, you know, 5 radios going at the same time. So you've got to know what's going on there. 2, you've got to be able to basically juggle 5 things at the same time. I swear you almost have to be ADD in order to do this job because there's just so much going on 24/7. You got to get to your calls quickly. You've got to film. You've got to make sure that you stay out of the fire department's way, stay out of the police department's way, stay out of the victim's way. You know, you know, situational awareness is key, and you know, and it's really, really, really challenging. And I think that's one of the things that really draws me to this career is that, you know, this isn't for everybody. It's so demanding and so challenging.
3500 time now is midnight 13. I'm out of North Point. He's actually going to go open the back door and go around the front right now. Ready to get one thing.
So good news, we're gonna get out and we're gonna
U-173, squad 173.
we're gonna walk over to where the fire is. an abandoned house in Compton that was caught on fire. It's probably like crackheads inside doing their thing. Maybe trying to get warm, lit a fire in a garbage can in the garage. Ended up turning into a pretty big fire. Compton fire is pretty quick when it comes to some fires, unless it gets too big, in which case they start requesting LA County to help out. But for the most part, they're pretty quick. I don't know if this one's gonna air because it is an abandoned house after all, but we'll see. We'll see in the morning. If someone gets shot and dies, if it's not gang related, it'll probably air. Fatal accidents generally air. I've had a couple exceptions to that rule. I was at a call in Whittier. It was a Friday night, and I get to the scene. There's a car on top of a curb. There is a full rescue going on. There's someone trapped. His head is out of the car, and he's screaming at the firefighters. The firefighters are telling him to shut up so they can concentrate. It was hilarious. And the hydrant's going, spewing water everywhere. There's like 7 inches of water in the ground. So I'm filming. They pull him out. I thought that was going to be the story. They jacked the car up, and the entire time there was a girl drowning underneath the vehicle. Never made it to the news. I put it up, they didn't care.
Well, as far as like kind of what stories get run and put out on the news, I mean, they definitely have to have a good angle to them as far as, you know, is it going to affect multiple people? You know, sometimes gang like shootings or stabbing stuff that's not, you know, it's more of an occurrence on the daily. They sometimes shy away from it if gangs are involved in it. But, you know, like things involving schools or children, things of those nature, they usually get pushed up higher. You know, I think more people kind of want to hear about stuff in that realm rather than shootings and stabbings of, you know, people that happen a lot in Orange County and LA. But, you know, every story we shoot and feed out, we always want to make sure there's, you know, a bigger angle to it, a bigger story to it than just, oh, you know, someone got stabbed. You know, was it a teenager or a young kid that got stabbed or did the stabbing? You know, was it a parent stabbed a kid? You know, we've been on a lot of those where a kid stabbed a parent, you know, things like that nature, where it kind of has a little bit more different angle than just like gang on gang kind of violence. But things that affect communities in large portions, you know, if there's a major area that's closed off because of something or people had to get evacuated, you know, that always brings up news channels really wanting that kind of stuff.
So basically what was happening, there's a car driving around and, you know, it had male Hispanics and they were targeting young black males who they thought were gang members. Whether they were or weren't, they didn't care. They're driving around, they're shooting an AK-47 out the window, they don't care. And they ended up killing 2 and injuring 3 or 4. So I had coverage of, I mean, I had dead bodies in the street, I've got people crying, I've got bullet holes in walls and windows. I mean, the whole city was a mess down here. They were going crazy, looking for these guys, going, these guys are running a rampage in South LA. To me, and this is when I first started, and to me, I'm going, this is a big story. This has to be a big story. In the same night, one of the other photographers working at the time had gotten a story where an arsonist had lit a playground on fire at a school at 2 in the morning. And to me, looking at, you know, hey, I've got this shooting with all these victims and this is this terrible thing happening, and someone lit a playground on fire, I'm like, oh, who cares about the playground? So in the morning, when we send in all our stuff and you know, the stations decide what they're going to use and what they're not going to use, not a single station picked up the shooting that I was on. Not a single station talked about it or aired it or anything, and every single station went with the playground. And at the time, that was incredibly difficult for me to deal with because it was very disheartening to see that. And a lot of people blame the news for that. They go, you know, the news is out there and they're telling us what we need to see and they're telling us what we need to hear, and you know, they're gonna, of course they would do that because, you know, that's what they want to show us. But people don't realize that at the end of the day, gang violence in this city is every day. It's nobody cares. But an arsonist lighting a playground on fire in Orange County, that doesn't happen every day. That's something that's unique. That's something that's different. So if you're turning on the TV and you go, oh, look at all these gangsters down there shooting each other, you're not going to care. But someone lights a playground on fire, think of the children. I can't believe it. The children. How are the children going to play tomorrow? So sitting here now, you know, almost 6 years later, yes, it makes sense. Is it disheartening? Absolutely. But that is what makes news and what doesn't make news.
It depends on what's happening around the world too. The Mike Brown incident. Good luck getting anything on air with the Mike Brown incident while that was happening. All the riots and whatnot.
Fuck the police! Fuck the police! You a bitch in the head. Fuck the police! Fuck the police! This is one of these bad. Fuck the police! Fuck the police! We need to be like Kennedy. Just hope you're right here.
Coming out.
There is no fight. We are police. You're actually unlawfully on the freeway. You gotta go, guys. At what point does media go on the freeway? We go unlawfully. You gotta go this way. You gotta go this way now. Across the freeway, guys. You can't go that way. You're gonna get arrested. You gotta go this way with the crowd. You gotta go underneath and get right back on. You cannot access. You cannot access. That's my warning to you now, dude. I got a whole squad behind you. Just go on the wall to the northbound side. You
Not a sign out of mind for him. Jesus Christ.
I would like to think that the overwhelming majority of law enforcement professionals would abide by this. My experience has been that it's very hit or miss as far as the law enforcement professionals that actually know what the law is and are willing to follow and comply. Subsection D of California Penal Code 409.5 states, nothing in this section shall prevent a duly authorized representative of any news service, newspaper, or radio or television station or network from entering the area closed pursuant to this section. So I mean, it's clear as day. I mean, there's no ambiguity there. That we as journalists, we understand that if there's an established crime scene, that we have the ability to do whatever we want up until that yellow tape.
We have probably the best media rights in California. That penal code, pretty much, if it be a bomb, a shooting, flooding, not so much a shooting, but flooding, natural disaster, news media shall always have greater access than the general public. And we're supposed to be able to get our shots and following those guidelines of the penal code, and most law enforcement they're supposed to know what that means. A lot of them don't.
LA County Sheriff, same thing. They'll push me out of a scene. They'll put crime scene tape up, even though it's not a crime. It might be a house fire, but they'll put crime scene tape up like around a block, not the fire, the block. They'll kick me out like 10 minutes after the fire is gone.
Hey, move on back that way.
Why is he okay?
Move back that way.
Why is he okay?
As soon as I'm done with you, he's going out there with you.
Why is he okay? I don't get that.
He's not okay. I'm going to move him right now.
Move right now.
No, I'm moving you first. Move out right now.
I don't get why.
Right, turn around, put your hands behind your back. Yeah. Either you move out, or I'll just put you in one of the cars. Doesn't matter.
What's your name? No, what's your name?
My name's right here. My name is right here. Back it out. Thank you very much.
You're not moving the other guy back. Sir, what's your name? It's crazy, and they think that they can kick me out because they're cops. And, you know, they roll their eyes at me. They don't want to argue, but you have to tell them. You have to, you have to let them know that you're there to do a job. And for me, sadly, it's on a weekly basis where I have to do that.
You know, and I'll fight that too sometimes. I mean, sometimes it just depends on who it is in the middle of the night when I'm rolling up on scene. And if I don't have good access and I'm standing around behind the tape with the general public, I'll kind of make a fuss about it in a good way, in a respectful way, because I want the good access, and I want to make sure that they're upholding that penal code.
This is freaking awesome. This is one of the coolest hydrants I've been on, where it's actually going up inside the vehicle and then coming out the back. John's got some good stuff. I can't wait to see what he's got on camera.
Do me a favor, stay over by that other bus and wait. Thank you. Hey! No, that way you're holding it.
Hang on.
No, but the water's flowing in straight more, so we already got our cars. Okay. Okay, great. Stay out of the way while we're trying to figure it out. Okay. No, while we're trying to figure out what's going on, and we got to get cars in and out of here, and I don't feel like dealing with all this. So right there's fine until we're done with this. Okay, great. Little further back for right now. This is fine. That's fine. Just a little further back, so we got to get people in and out so the water is spreading more. So we don't want to have to keep people. So just right where our cars are, that's good enough.
water is really dangerous, so we're, you know, the Sheriff's Department thinks we're going to die because of a little bit of water. They're protecting us, though, so I feel much safer. Thank you.
Another encounter, John?
Oh, this was so dangerous. How come I was here 15 minutes before they were? Stupid.
Staying away from the sheriffs?
Nah, man, they're working hard. How you guys? How you doing
How's it
tonight,
going,
man?
Good to see you.
Average money night out here.
It's been a joke tonight. We had an MTA bus just back over a hydrant down off the 91, and the water's shooting up into the engine compartment. It's opening up, and I'm like, that is awesome. So
yeah, man.
see you, Sarge. Stay safe. Roger, 455 copies the overturn. 455 will be en route to the 110 and the 101, and that is why LAPD is absolutely fantastic. They are like the coolest group of guys. And I don't mean that like just across the board. I mean, of course you run into, you know, assholes in every job basically, but I mean, that is, you would never see that from the Sheriff's Department. I mean, it's unreal, completely unreal.
In my perspective, you know, my job is to document what's going on. My job is to, you know, whether it's a fatal car crash, or it's a structure fire, or it's an auto versus pedestrian, which we unfortunately see so many of, you know, or it's a violent crime. If there's a crime scene established, you know, our job is to tell the story without impeding whatever investigation they're under. Some agencies are really, really, really good. Some of the agencies are great. You know, where they'll actually walk up to us and they'll tell us as we're getting there, like, these are the ground rules, or this is what we've got working. So please be mindful of A, B, and C. We haven't set up crime scene tape, but if you could do us a favor and not go past this area right now while we hold everything, we'd appreciate it. And I'll do what I can to accommodate that.
Some sheriffs are actually kind of cool. I had one sheriff, one sergeant kicked me out, and the sergeant goes, don't worry about him. You can go around, there's a better shot around the building. And he showed me where to go. It was amazing. I thought he was tricking me. I thought he was gonna arrest me like right after because it was in public or private property. But no, it was just a cool sheriff. He knew exactly who I was. He knew what we did, and that was pretty much that.
And I'm not gonna say this as like, hey, we don't like the Sheriff's Department. We don't like everyone that's a sheriff. I mean, I have maybe 10 or 15 people that I know that are solid, hardworking, just generally good people that work for the Sheriff's Department. So it's, you know, it's not something I can just say, oh, you know, the whole LA County Sheriff's Department is a bunch of jerks. But from what we deal with them on a daily basis, not so much for me, but my other photographers, and from what I've seen, they really go out of their way to make our jobs really difficult for us. Basically, this is a minor traffic accident, and considering the sheriffs are here, it's not even worth getting out of the car, in all honesty. And it's easy for them to do that. All they have to do is just say that someplace is a crime scene, or put up crime scene tape and say, you know, oh, because I said so. And they don't really listen to the laws that govern what we do. There's a lot of laws that protect us as journalists in California specifically. And working in Los Angeles, we deal with a lot of stuff on a very regular basis. Homicides, shootings, stabbings, car crashes, physical rescues, fires. We see it all in a very short amount of time. So, not to say that we know better than the sheriffs that are there, or the officers, or whoever's handling, but we've already got a good idea of where we need to be to stay safe, where we need to be to get the story, and where we need to be to stay out of the way. And a lot of times with these guys, they get very caught up into the whole, I guess, all the energy and all the excitement of the scene, and they kind of forget about protecting the media. It's not to say that these guys aren't out there doing their best, but a lot of times they do go out of their way to make our jobs difficult just because we are the media, just because we are the press. It's not like every department is like that. We deal with LAPD. I mean, they are fantastic when it comes to media relations. The PIOs call us. The sergeants call us on an incident. When I go to a scene with LAPD,
you'll see we're joking around with the guys, we're having a good time. Not to say it's a place to be having a good time, but we have a mutual level of respect and understanding for what my job is, and I have a mutual level of understanding of what their job is. And it's not like a battle with them. And if it's a crime scene, no problem. They say, hey Zach, just so you know, man, we got a body over here, there's some physical evidence, we're gonna tape it off. No worries, where are you guys taping it off? Where do you want me to go? Let's figure this out. And they do that every single time. And I mean, little agencies, El Monte, Pasadena, South Pasadena, I wanna say San Gabriel PD, or Glendale PD. Little departments and Los Angeles Police and every division in the Los Angeles Police Department, just across the board. It's just, there's a level of respect, of mutual respect, that you don't find anywhere else. So it's not to say, hey, you know, because if every day I go to a scene or my guys go to a scene and, you know, cops are yelling at them and they're going, hey man, you're a jerk, get out of here, you know, you're messing up everything, then yes, then it's our problem. I get that. But if I'm going to a house fire in downtown LA or South LA, and the cops are telling me to get in there and get a better shot and to get in closer to the action, and then I go over to Compton or Carson or East LA and the sheriffs come up to us and say, you need to leave here, it's a crime scene, they're lying to us. And we've tried talking to the lieutenants, we've gone right up the chain of command. I've talked to lieutenants and captains and people at downtown, you know, who know what they're doing, people who are intelligent, who can deal with this stuff. They never follow up with us. They never ask us for a report. They never ask us to do anything. And there's been times where we're out in the field and I'll tell either my photographer or myself to call a supervisor to respond to the location to take a report. And I personally have experienced times when the supervisor will show up, look at me, and leave. They won't even talk to us. So, like I said, if it was across the board, if it was every single police department in the entire state saying, hey, you guys are too close, or hey, you guys are out of control, totally fine. We dial back, we reevaluate, and we change our procedure to deal with that. What we're seeing is across the board, not a single issue until we're dealing with the sheriff's department. And I get that the FBI is, you know, indicting their guys for corruption and all that stuff, and I get that the news is really hard on them, but at the same time, we're not those people writing those stories. We're the ones out there getting the action shots, getting the shots of them rescuing people, getting the shots of them helping and doing good things, getting the bad guys in custody. If anything, you would think they would use us to make themselves look better, especially considering they're being indicted by the FBI. Because if my guys are being indicted by the FBI, you'd bet your ass that I'd be doing everything in my power to make sure that we look good at the end of the day.
I mean, in 18 months, I've covered 450 stories. I mean, there are a number that stand out, and there are intersections that I'll drive by and I'll be like, wow, I remember this, you know, or, you know, I'll remember officers because of a call that I met them at, or battalion chiefs or fire captains, and you know, and when I'm doing this job, it's like everything that I remember is directly attributable to, you know, what call I was on at the time. When we do our job, we do it to the best of our ability. When we're done, we got to put that story behind us. So I may have preliminary information on a story that I've worked on, and I can tell you unequivocally that I don't know the rest of the story. I don't know what they found out after the fact. You know, it's and I need to do that for my own sanity, for my own well-being. So, you know, the information that I have on this story was that, you know, you had 6 kids in a car. They were driving down the road in high speeds in Burbank, and my understanding is that they crashed into the tunnel wall of of the tunnel that goes underneath the 5 freeway in Burbank, and the car crashed, and it impacted so hard that it went up in flames, and there were 6 kids in the car, 5 of which burned alive. There was a Good Samaritan, if I'm not mistaken. He was a delivery driver that was delivering food to one of the restaurants in the complex adjacent to it. Happened to see the crash, had to jump like 3 fences. Like, ran across the road, jumped a fence, ran across the train tracks, jumped a fence, had to jump another fence to get to the car. So he had to jump like 3 fences and run, a couple hundred yards to get to the car, and managed to pull this one gal out of the car and save her life. And fortunately, from what I understand, she's still alive, and, she survived. But the other 5 kids in the car, they burned alive. And the vehicle was fully involved in flames, and the fire extended from the vehicle into the brush, and then it carried into the trees, and they had to shut down the 5 freeway because the fire was was impacting the freeway as well, and it was a sad one. It was, I mean, it's a tragic story. That'll live with me forever.
One of the first questions that people ask is, what's the worst thing you've ever seen? In the beginning, it's very difficult. It's really, really difficult. You find yourself shaking and throwing up and not being able to sleep, and the image of that person who's been either mutilated or killed in a very horrific fashion, that kind of plays in your mind for a while. But it's kind of part of what we deal with. For us, the job is the adventure. The job is, it's not a job, it's more of a lifestyle. It's a thing that we do, it's a part of who we are. And we go out there to cover breaking news. We're not necessarily focused on that. That's kind of just, it's like a side effect almost of what we deal with. And some people deal with it better than others. I like to think that I deal with it fairly well. I like to think that most of my guys deal with it fairly well. And there's no real way to say how that's done. There's no way to say how we deal with that. Everyone has their own ways of doing it. I myself have my hobbies. I have an incredible support group with my friends, and a loving family. So for me, it's very easy to escape the thoughts of what I've seen out here, because you can't focus on it, and there's a huge detachment between perceived reality and how the world should be, and then what it's like out here on a nightly basis. There's a huge disconnect with us. So, and what I mean by that is my days off are spent doing things like rock climbing or going to Griffith Park or hiking, doing things outside and just kind of enjoying the outdoors. And then when you're here, it's very much, it's such a drastic contrast between my existence and being out here, that half the time it's almost not even real, half the stuff you're seeing. You go, it can't, there's no way that horrors could exist that are this dark in this city at night. I mean, the best way to describe them would be nightmares. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So being able to disconnect from that and depersonalize it and realize that that's something that's happening here and you're seeing it for a fleeting moment, you can't get stuck in it. So how we deal with it, I don't want to say a full level of detachment, because trust me, the guys and myself especially, we definitely deal with what we're seeing and we talk about it with each other, and we're very into dealing with it when it happens and where it happens if necessary. But you try not to think back. You try not to think back of all of I mean, I've covered over 3,000 stories. I mean, of those, how many of those are fatalities? I'd say more than half. I mean, that's a massive loss of life. And I mean, we have a huge level of respect for that. And it's difficult to talk about.
For us, when we're going to a scene, we're hearing the radio traffic, we're hearing the size of how big the fire is, how crazy the crash is, how many victims, so that, we get really excited, because that's what we're out here to do, is capture really great big stories, but at the same time, you got to realize, this could be someone's worst day that we're about to witness and photograph and document. So when you're on scene, you want to be very respectful, stay as small as possible, because someone's loved one could be there, laying dead by the time you get there, and family's there, friends there, and you want to have that little separation, because I mean, it truly is their worst day.
You become desensitized to blood on the ground, or like seeing people in pieces, and you just get really desensitized to people in the worst day of their lives, pretty much, which is terrible, but if I'm not there, someone else is gonna be there, so it's just, you kind of just have to deal with it. And for the most part, I like to think that I'm filming not the people at their worst, but the people who are there to help on their best days.
myself and the guys that I have working for me and with me right now are some of the absolute most genuine people that I've ever worked with. They truly care about what they do. They care about their image, they care about their reputation, they care about what we do out here, because for us and for my guys, this is us being able to show the city what happens when everyone's asleep. To us, we are the only ones up. We are the only ones out, and if we don't report things factually and accurately, if things are not reported right, there's information that gets lost, there's stories that never see the light of day. And for us, we take that very personally, and we work harder, I think, than the next guy. We work harder than the next guy to deliver that, because to us it's more important than anything. And the guys all understand that, and I understand that, I think, better than anyone, because our reputations are on the line every time we hit publish. We need to make sure that things are reported accurately and to the point, and we only report the facts. We don't report any speculation, any conjecture. We just do the facts. This is what I saw, this is what happened, this is what I heard, and when we're on the phone with them, sure, possibly could be this. It looked like it might have been this, and then the stations do their research. But I don't think anyone today is doing what we do in terms of how professionally we handle ourselves, because this profession and this career has been seen as, I think, a negative thing. Most recently with Hollywood portraying us as a bunch of crazies, and then with that TV show that was out a while ago where they're showing the guys driving around 100 miles an hour and focusing on that, and that's not what this is about. This is about, for us, this is the most passionate group of individuals who have found something that only they can do, and they do it better than anybody else. And to us, that's important. It means everything.
LA 169, after investigation, apparent false alarm.
455, 411 David.
411 David, 455, go with your truck.
Hey, you're not gonna congratulate me in my first year of on scene?
Is that your first year?
I believe so.
All units in the field, be advised. Today is 411's birthday with On Scene TV. 411, congratulations on your first year of service. We thank you. We continue to thank you for your continued service and wish you great success in the future endeavors.
Copy, thank you. So yeah, there goes that question.